Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to analyze this interview with R. Kelly to watch for signs of manipulative language and persuasive language. And we're going to point this out because when narcissist and manipulative people are at their worst, when they're at their most dangerous, it's when we can't recognize what's happening. So it's good to build those patterns as well as learn a few responses for those statements. So that's what we'll analyze today.
I'm surprised that you agreed to do it. Why are you sitting down with us today?
I'm very tired of all of the lies. I've been hearing things and seeing things on the blogs, and I'm just tired.
What are the lies that you're hearing that disturb you most?
Oh my God, all of them. Got little girls trapped in the basement, helicopters over my house, trying to rescue someone that doesn't need rescuing because they're not in my house, handcuffing people, starving people. I have a harem, a cult. I don't even really know what a cult is, but I know I don't have one,
Have you done anything that you regret? Have you done anything wrong?
Lots of things wrong when it comes to women that I apologize, but I apologize in those relationships. At the time I was in the relationship.
So watch where his hands are. Notice that he signals with his hands, pushing away from himself as he describes those relationships. This can be a way to signal that those relationships are far away in the distant past. That's known as physical anchoring. So he also doesn't say my relationship or these relationships. He says those relationships, which is a more distanced form of languaging. That's called distance languaging, to make something appear as far away as possible. So it's those relationships as he's pushing away to signal that those are far away and really not important.
Have you broken any laws when it comes to women?
Absolutely not.
The 6-part series interviewed 50 people, family members, your former tour manager, numerous women who all claim that you abused them. Yeah. Are you saying everybody in that documentary was not telling the truth about you? Everybody?
If you really look at that documentary, which I'm sure you have,
I have.
Everybody said something bad about me. Nobody said nothing good. They was describing Lucifer. I'm not Lucifer. I'm a man. I make mistakes, but I'm not a devil.
So when confronting a person who is guilty of something, the first thing they will try to do is shift to very general statements. It will not focus on specific points that were brought up. It'll be on general comments that could apply to many humans. So he says, I am a man. I make mistakes. I'm not a monster. I'm not Lucifer. These extreme statements help him to occupy the victim role, first off, but these extreme accusations of being a monster or Lucifer are easy to defend against than the very specific claims about his sexual assaults. Those are very difficult to defend against. It also makes his accusers seem more extreme in their accusations if they're attacking his character groundlessly and absurdly, calling him a monster or Lucifer, instead of providing actual testimony about his assault. So the goal here is to frame legitimate criticism as a demand for some inhuman level of moral perfection, which is never what anyone has asked of him, right? So in these situations, always stick to the specific accusation being made. It is easier to play the victim role when you can accuse the other person of making insane demands of perfection. Also notice that he didn't actually answer the question, which was, is everybody in the documentary lying? He went on to say that nobody said anything good about him, and then he kind of claimed this victim role and said, no, I'm not a monster, but he didn't answer the actual question, which was everything said in that documentary a lie? So just to notice that it's very difficult to notice in a conversation in real time when a change of topics or an evasive technique has been used in a conversation.
And by no means am I a monster.
I'm going to name the names. Andrea Kelly, your ex-wife, Kitty Jones, Lisa Van Allen, Lisette Martinez, Geronda Pace.
Notice the pain in his eyes as the actual specific victims are being named.
Faith Rogers, Asante McGee. You're saying everything they said in that documentary about you is not true.
They are lying on me.
Why would these women say the same thing about you that you are controlling, that you are abusive, that you tell women when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when they can sleep, where they can dress. Why would all these women tell these different stories about you if they were not true? And they don't know each other. That defies logic to me.
Right, right. Until you hear the explanation. You can start a rumor on a guy like me or a celebrity just like that. All you have to do is push a button on your phone and say, so-and-so did this to me. R. Kelly did this to me. And if you get any traction from that, if you're able to write a book from that, if you're able to get a reality show, then any girl that I had a relationship in the past that it just didn't work out, she can come and say the same exact thing.
Are you blaming this on social media?
I'm talking about the power of social media.
So again, notice how he speaks in general terms when asked about these specific women. He says, you can hit a button, referring generally. He didn't directly say these women all did that. He appeals to this very general motivation that a person could have, such as profiting from a book after setting up a celebrity. Makes sense to any of us. It's a general statement about people's motivations, and it's an indirect way to impugn the character of his victims while not being as specific in his, I guess, having to say, no, they were all wrong, they were all lying. He can just be general about this idea that humans do tend to be motivated by financial gain in situations like this against celebrities.
Media.
In 2008, R. Kelly was found not guilty on 14 counts of child pornography after prosecutors in Chicago failed to convince a jury that he was a man seen in a sex tape with a girl as young as 13.
What do you want to say to your fans?
Last month, Kelly was indicted again, this time charged with aggravated criminal sexual abuse of 4 women, including 3 who the charges say were minors at the time. Have
I'd like you to pay attention to his right foot when he answers this question.
you ever had sex
No.
with anyone under the age of 17?
No.
Never.
Notice the foot tap. It's difficult to lie without some kind of body language tick exposing, discomfort. Not saying that's the case here for sure, but just things to look out for.
No.
I have to tell you, it's so hard to believe that based on all that we've
There's-
read
I'ma tell
and
you
what the
something,
women
Gail,
have
there's
said
one
about
sit-
you.
I'ma
And what
tell
the
you
women have
something.
said about you.
What women said about me, so nobody's allowed to be mad at me and be scorned and lie on me.
So they're lying on you. That's your explanation. They're lying on you.
Absolutely.
So pay attention to how his head shakes no while saying the word absolutely. Now, sometimes incongruence with body language and words can be a sign of deception. It can also be an attempt to show disbelief over the women's statements by shaking his head no. Sometimes that's a difficult one to call, but it is a little odd when he's saying absolutely, but his body language is shaking his head no.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You feel that people have maligned your
I
character.
have been assassinated. I have been buried alive.
Watch when you bring up very reasonable criticisms for a person to respond with vivid emotional language, right? I was assassinated, buried alive. This is to distract from any legitimate criticism or discussion of the evidence. So often the thinner the facts of their case and the weaker their story, the more they will use this highly emotional languaging as a distraction, as a way to frame them as the victim.
But I'm alive.
So I think the point you're making is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have never held anybody against their will.
I don't need to. Why would I?
Well,
How stupid would it
never
be
held
for R.
anybody-
Kelly, with all I've been through in my way, way past, to
So noticing the distancing language of saying the words way, way past and gesturing his hands away, again, just like before. So here we'll go into incredulity language, right? This is where the person attempts to be flabbergasted at the accusations made. And they'll say, why would I be so dumb to do that? When in reality, they were exactly dumb enough to do it, right? Him pointing to his past accusations really strengthens the accusations being made against him in the present.
hold somebody, let alone 4, 5, 6, 50, you said. Why, how stupid would I be to do that?
I didn't say you would
That's-
hold it.
So always note the way that they try to make the reasonable and concerning claims against them seem absurd. The listener is made to feel stupid for raising legitimate concerns, but the reasons given for why the accusation is absurd will be almost non-existent, other than just saying it sounds crazy, or that's an absurd thing to say, or I can't believe you would say that or bring that up. And the implication there is you must be dumb for buying into it. And they just continue to make those statements about how dumb it is and how crazy it is, and I just can't wrap my mind around what you're saying, when in reality they have no way to defend against the evidence that you're bringing forward to them.
Stupid, guys.
I didn't-
Is this camera on me?
Yes, it's on.
That's stupid. Use your common sense. Don't forget the blogs. Forget how you feel about me. Hate me if you want to, love me if you want, but just use your common sense. How stupid would it be for me to, with my crazy past and what I've been through?
He doesn't want to directly state what his crazy past is here in this interview. Probably smart not to. He doesn't want that image to stick to him in people's minds, right? He also refers to it as his crazy past and what he has been through. And the words "what I've been through" is not very active. It's very passive, as if he played no role in it at all. And it just fell out of the sky, apparently. It just happened to him. So this use of passive voice languaging is a way to appear to have nothing to do with the set of events that led up to the situation he's in now. And he's also using his hands to signal that it happened a long time ago. So anything that he doesn't want to stick to him, notice how he's pushing his hands away to signal this is somewhere else.
Oh, right now I just think I need to be a monster and hold girls against their will, chain them up in my basement, and don't let them eat and don't let them out unless they need some shoes down the street from their uncle.
Robert,
Stop it. Y'all quit playing. Quit playing.
Robert.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to kill me. You killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth. You don't want to believe it.
At this point, we briefly pause the interview to give Kelly a moment. His publicist helped calm him down.
I hope this camera keep going.
No, we're going to
This
let
is
the
not
camera keep
true.
rolling. Right.
So this is called histrionics, right? It's an overly emotional outburst. It's beyond what the situation calls for, or it's a reaction that's not context appropriate. Like, for example, in this interview, he would have known that these very reasonable questions would come up. And the outburst is meant to seem like a sincere outpouring of emotion, but it's also usually bullshit. And a large framed man like this flailing around while the interviewer remains calm and seated doesn't make him appear stable or safe, even if his emotions were sincere in this case. And if he can't keep it together for this short interview, how would he react to the women in his life when they say something that he doesn't like? Not a good look.
Yeah.
This is not, doesn't even make sense. Why would I hold all these women? Their mothers and fathers told me, we're going to destroy your career.
But Kelly's emotions remained raw.
It's real girls out there missing. It's real young girls out there being abducted, being...
So he's talking here about other women that are being abducted in other cases, right? So watch for manipulators to pivot and deflect away from accusations by shifting to unrelated incidents that are worse by comparison. And they also make counter accusations, which are hard to avoid taking the bait on. A conversational red herring, so a subtle change in topics. And often these change of topics will involve something you did, or they'll say something that's untrue about something you did so that you will take the bait to defend yourself. They'll say, well, it's like how you went out 3 times and you never called, when you're bringing up some text you found in your relationship partner's phone or something. and they flip out and say, well, you know, you did this and that 3 times, and you're like, no, that never happened. So even though it's a complete change of topic, you immediately shoot into defensive mode, and then they launch from that thing that you're defending into this other thing that's kind of related a little bit, and before you know it, you're completely off the topic, and then they've had some extreme histrionic blowout about something that was related to the conversation and the things that you're talking about. They fake like they took offense to something you said, and before you know it, you're miles and miles away from the original accusation, and in some cases, you might find yourself even feeling the need to apologize for things that are just ridiculous. So watch out for that. Develop that ability to spot that, bullshit.
Raped, okay? They really are on chains. They really do have chains on their wrists, and they can't get out.
Robert,
and they're ending up buried in debt.
Robert, we have to have a conversation.
This is
Really,
not me.
I don't want you just ranting at the camera.
I came here for them to hear me talk.
But
I need help.
What kind of help?
This is the kind of help I need.
So I like how she labels his behavior here. She calls it ranting at the camera. And it's a good way to disincentivize someone from continuing to reuse a manipulative tactic. So you simply give it a label that is counter to their goal, or frames what they're doing in a way that puts them in a poor light, or a light that they don't want to be shown in. And he wants to be seen as speaking the truth, speaking from his heart. And she calls it ranting at the camera. Definitely not what he wants, the effect he wants. But it's kind of hard to argue with what she's saying. I mean, that's exactly what he's doing. He's ranting at the camera. So my general rule is, if somebody repeats a tactic, let's say 2 or 3 times, it's some sort of manipulative tactic or something you suspect is insincere, feel free to label that technique that they're using in an unappealing way. You just kind of take this list of things that they're doing, and you just kind of group it and redefine it. You give it a label like, okay, you're ranting at the camera, or something like that. And it's a great tactic.
Yes, what kind of help?
I need somebody to help me not have a big heart, because my heart is so big. People betray me, and I keep forgiving them.
You sound like you're playing the victim here. You sound like R. Kelly, you do. When I listen to you,
I'm
it
just
does
telling
sound
the
like
truth.
you're playing the victim
I'm just
card.
telling the truth. And the reason I'm emotional,
Robert,
and I apologize for that,
No,
is
no,
because this
no.
is the first time I was able to say
speak.
something. Yeah. I've said nothing.
And you really have said nothing here, R. Kelly. Nothing that will help your public image. And you've been evasive. You have maligned your accusers, and you appear very unhinged here. And we've all met somebody who uses these kind of tactics. And maybe it's a bad relationship partner or a toxic coworker. And it can leave a person feeling frustrated and feeling powerless in a conversation. And it's better to learn how to counter these tactics. I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of the manipulative language of R. Kelly. And if you got some value here, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.